Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Fox98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel. Today, we've got some brand new F1 2020 gameplay information to talk about in today's video. Basically, Lee Mather, part of Codemasters, had a chat with members from Red Bull about F1 2020, and it's a very nice long blog here, which basically just goes through a lot about the game itself, and you can see that they managed to have a conversation and basically go through a couple of things, including the likes of my team, career mode, and so forth. So in today's video, we're basically going to just go through the blog and just highlight some of the most important things about the game, which has been notified. So let's get straight into it then. So firstly, obviously, they're stating that F1 2020 will be on our screen, or on our screens to play on July the 10th. Obviously, if you buy the Schumacher edition, it'll be on July the 7th. Just about that as well, if you decide to pre-order F1 2020 and you decide to pre-order the Schumacher edition, and you've also got F1 2019, you will get 10% off when you actually pre-order it. So in theory, you're probably actually better off buying the Schumacher edition compared to the normal edition. You're just going to get those extra perks. And if you've got F1 2019, it's 10% off. It's like £3-4 or £3-4 UK sterling, that is, more than it would be for a normal edition. Plus you get it 3 days early and all the extra access. Personally, I think you probably should do that, but obviously it depends on, completely up to you on that one. And of course, they've got, all of the latest information here. So let's have a look then. So firstly off, what can they tell us about the new My Team mode? Now, as we know, My Team is an opportunity for you to own your own team and be the 11th team on the grid and work your way up. So let's have a look then. So for the first time in the Codemasters F1 series, we're giving the player the chance to enter the team as a Formula 1 World Championship. Players will have to manage both the running of the team and produce the results out on the track. As with any F1 team, the player will be responsible for all departments needed to run the team. These range from those which impact on pure performance to departments who work to get you the best sponsorship and media deals to those responsible for driver and staff training. So what we can see here is we've got a different selection of parts of a team in which you're going to need to manage and build up that reputation. It sounds very similar to how you keep your reputation and your morale high within, in normal career modes when you had like your aero and your power unit. If you said something bad, it would go wrong and then you'd have morale. It would be more expensive to upgrade a part, and then it would be, it could have like, the faults could be more active on that front. It's very similar in this faction here. Now it says, obviously, engaging with the driver market and picking the most lucrative sponsors will also play a crucial part to creating a successful team. Now this is something that we've not actually had yet in a Formula 1 game. We've had, just last season we had driver transfers, but this time we're having a full-on driver market. So we need to try and persuade the drivers to come and join our teams. And also we have to pick sponsors as well in order to be a part of creating a successful team. Bringing in the resources is what this is trying to mention. Not to mention the development of the car and how you manage the team's time in between races via the new season timeline. So there's something different in there as well. It has a very similar feeling to Motorsport Manager, whereby, in normal career mode, you'd finish the French Grand Prix, you'd make your upgrades on your car, and then you'd go into the Austrian Grand Prix. Whereas now you're going to have that in-between piece where you can, have a look at your factory, have a look at your wind tunnel, your simulations, see if you can try and bring in any new sponsors, having a look at the driver market, paying your staff, and building everything up from the scratch. It seems highly, highly detailed, and fair play to that. So the next question that they asked is, how does the driver manager experience work in My Team, and what does it mean for the players? So let's have a look. It brings an entirely new experience to our F1 series, giving players a different way to go about winning a world championship. You want to put in a strong performance on the track, but if you don't take care of your second driver and help them to improve, you'll struggle to become a Constructors' Champion. That right there is a very big line that is very fascinating actually to look at. You've got, let's take for an example, Red Bull. Red Bull are, speaking of Red Bull, I'm on their site. Red Bull, they are a massive team in Formula 1, and they've got their main driver. It is Red Bull, and Verstappen is your number one driver. But if you cannot keep that second driver happy, then that second driver is going to perform badly, and it's going to cost you critical amounts of points, and therefore, as it says, you're not going to become champion with one driver, and we've seen that, obviously, with Red Bull. Let's take last season in 2019, for example. Red Bull finished third in the Constructors' Championship behind Ferrari. But if you genuinely look at it, if Red Bull had someone like Alex Albon throughout the entirety of the season, who was very consistent, obviously Gasly had a very bad first half of the season, and Albon came in, and he had an impressive second half of the season, but really it was only Verstappen really carrying Red Bull in that championship. And they should have beaten Ferrari last season. I think that's all a given. But they didn't. And that's because they didn't have the second driver all the way throughout. And that's what cost them. As it says here, as a team boss, you're no longer the commodity in the driver market. And it's your teammates and all the other drivers in both Formula 1 and Formula 2. So in the driver transfer market, you can pick up Formula 2 drivers to come into your team. We were wondering where Formula 2 was going to come into this. So you'll be able to sign Formula 1 drivers from other teams, but you can delve yourself into the junior formulas, get a young talent in. He may be less experienced and cost you races, but if you can develop that Formula 2 driver, he may then outwork your F1 driver. That's something that we're going to need to be keeping an eye on. Is it might not actually be the best thing to get someone in from Formula 1 who's already in Formula 1. You might want to get into the Formula 2 market and pick up a young star. Another primary consideration will be funding the expenditure. Picking the right sponsors and knowing where to invest will be crucial. That's nice to know. This is very, very detailed. Wow. So yeah, now we have to realize what sponsors are going to work for the team. You know, there's a lot of thinking that you really have to do. My team it's literally putting you in the shoes of a team boss, you know, and how an entire Formula 1 team works. And I don't think people truly understand how difficult it is to be a part of a Formula 1 team and to run a Formula 1 team. You know, for example, like if we saw all of this and you think, you know, oh, Mercedes dominate everything. Well, you know, all of this just shows, you know, you've got to think about your sponsors, you've got to think about your teams, you've got to think about your factories, your staff, there's so much that needs to be developed in Formula 1 that it finally gives us as a player an opportunity to really see what it truly is like to be part of Formula 1 and be a part of a team. You might want to pick a high-profile driver and have the cash to hire them, but they won't stick around if you can't provide the level of facilities they expect of a championship-winning team. And that's what we were talking about. It's not always the best thing to get someone in from Formula 1. You might want to get someone in from Formula 2. Now, obviously, as you can see, I'm wearing a Mercedes hat. Why? Because I'm a Mercedes fan. Deal with it. Now, if I sorted out my own team and I was like, right, I'm going to go get Lewis Hamilton. You know, I really want Hamilton in my team. He's my favourite driver in Formula 1 currently. I'm going to smash it out. I've got the cash. I hired him. Oh, wait, hang on. The facility is still not built properly yet. I've only just joined Formula 1. Yeah, bye. That's what he'll do. He'll just say, goodbye, I don't want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of a championship-winning team. You're not producing that for me. So as well as you may have the cash, it's all about like starting off with your you need to be careful with your expectations is what it's trying to say. Is like an initial piece of advice. Be careful because it might mean that you're not actually going to be up there straight away. And like I said, that Formula 2 market, anyone in Formula 2 will be looking to get into Formula 1. You might be able to build your own team around the likes of Mick Schumacher, Jack Aiken. I can't even remember any others off the top of my head that are in there, but you get the idea. Now, any beginner tips for my teams? Here we go. So here's some tips that Lee has come up with. So my team is vast and it works very differently to the traditional career mode, which players are used to playing. Rather than spending everything on upgrading the car, you'll now need to look at investing in the team for the long run, as the last thing you want is to have to shut down a facility to save on spending. That is huge stuff there, and that's a really big statement that they've come out, and it's exactly what I was just saying earlier. You know, we're used to just going to the French Grand Prix, chucking on all my resource points for, you know, the aerodynamic department, and then I'm off to Austria. This time around, you know, I can't just throw everything on upgrades. I've got to look at the facilities, you've got to look at the staff, you've got to look at you've got to look at absolutely everything here and see where you need to spend everything. You've got to be really tactical and manage, as it kind of is trying to say, your team to perfection. Otherwise, it's going to cost you. And to be honest, this shut down a facility to save on spending, not only is that a huge thing, and it's what happens with companies. You know, if your company starts doing badly, you have to close down stuff in order to reduce the cost of what you're spending it on. And it's like Monopoly. If you go bankrupt, you've got to sort of just get rid of pieces that you've got. You know, if you own all of, you know, the green section of the Monopoly board, but all of a sudden, you're going bankrupt, you've then got to put that piece on mortgage, which means then that you get money back to help you out, but you can't then charge people if they land on your stuff, and it's kind of a similar fact, obviously, as well. Also, pay attention to the tutorials and the ever-helpful Carl, who will talk you through some of the new elements and set up and start running your team. So Carl, who obviously has been our engineer, he's going to be even more critical than ever in the Formula 1 games, as he's going to give you the ever-helpful tutorials to help you get your team running and obviously give you advice along the way. So a lot of people like myself, I just tell Carl to shut up and let me get on with it. This time around, you might want to let Carl help you out, because if he doesn't, you might be in a little trouble. And it says, lastly, take the time to create a cool visual for your team. Set up a strong color scheme with a striking team badge. Make the team yours. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind letting me import my my YouTube logo in there, that'd be great, because then I'll just do that instead. And I'll have the blue that I work with, the blue and black on mine. That'd be sick. If I can do that on PC, I'll do it. I'll pre-order it on PC. By the way, if you're looking to find the cheapest place to buy the F1 2020 digitally, at the moment it is actually on PC. It's about 10 quid cheaper. I don't know why. Anyway, what are the new additions to career mode? What do you think are the most exciting inclusions? Now, of course, this is where we're now having a look at the career mode section. Now, my team is the big headline for F1 2020, and we've seen the biggest headlines for each game each year. Now, of course, career mode is now not the most important thing in Formula 1. But obviously, there's a massive amount of people that play it. So as you may all recall, we added driver moves in F1 2019. With the inclusion of my team and the driver market, we've now brought a similar system to the driver career mode. As part of the driver market, you'll be competing with all the other drivers around you to get the best seat you can at the best price. We've also made some adjustments to how the R&D system works. This is a very, very interesting piece right here. Now, we've seen this, and this is something I actually am really, really happy about, when we've done our career modes in the past, we get to 4 races and all of a sudden it's contract negotiations, and you can go to whatever team you want. Let's face it. If I was driving for Williams, I could go over to Mercedes after 4 races. I'd have a very, very weak contract, where I wouldn't have any perks. I'd have to, basically work from practically nothing, and then the next contract I could start to build my way up again. This time around, it's not so simple as to just, I'm going to go to Mercedes, get no levels on anything, and boom, I'm at Mercedes now. Easy, job done. This time around, you've got to really fight for your seat. You've got to make sure that, you get the price that you want. And yeah, it's kind of a huge deal in this. And again, adjustments to how the R&D system works. That's going to be quite interesting to see what type of adjustments they're looking at doing. Yeah, this is a big one here that you're going to have to compete to get the seat that you actually want. And that's good because it brings a little bit of difficulty to the career mode section. So that's all they've said about career modes, unless there's a lot to go through. How will the 3 customizable season length impact players? Now, as they said, obviously, you're going to have 22, 16, or 10 race seasons. So how does that change things? Well, we've always been conscious that not everyone who plays the game is massively time rich. So taking part in an entire season while also doing full race weekends is very time consuming. To give players more choice and flexibility in how they play their seasons, they can choose to do a 22, 16, or 10 race season. The player will have the option to pick which tracks they want to race at in each season, and they can edit that list in the subsequent season. It'll also help new players who might struggle on circuits such as Baku and Monaco. Players can now pick a season based on their skill level and tougher circuits as they improve. Very, very nice feature. Not a lot to really say about that. You can pick which races you want to do in your shorter season, and then when it comes to the next season, you can pick what tracks you want to go to. So if you're someone that's new to the game, and maybe you've never bought a Formula 1 game, but you've come onto my channel, for an example, and I've had people before, they come onto my channel, they've watched my content, they've actually bought the game because of it. You may not like driving at Monaco, you may not like driving at Baku, and you may think it just sucks, and you just go to those race weekends, you think, I just can't be bothered. I got Baku next. You can just get rid of them. You can just have, you can have Italy. You can have, I'm trying to think of easy circuits. You can have Belgium. USA is quite simple. Bahrain, I'd say simple, in China. Those type of circuits, they're quite simple. And then you can think to yourself, what? I want to take it up a level. So next season, I'm going to put Baku into it. And then, what? The final thing, right, I'm putting Monaco in and I'm going to perfect Monaco. Now, obviously for me, I'll be doing a full 22 race season. I'm not going to skip anything. But players like that can, can have that opportunity. Right, so as it says here, next question that they came across is, can you share some beginner tips for the new career mode? One of the key tips I always like to give in career mode is pick a team and difficulty mode which matches your expectations. If you want to be standing on the top step of the podium each race and fighting for the championship in your first season, then you'll want to pick from one of the front-running teams. Choosing a mid-table team will give you a longer experience where you'll either be looking to develop the car or maybe court the driver market and move up to a more competitive team. Alternatively, some people love the challenge of starting at the back, building up a team, as well as traversing the field by moving teams along the way to become a champion. Ultimately, think about the experience you want as a player. It's quite a simple piece there in terms of sharing beginner tips. Just pick the team that you want to go for, whichever team you want to do, just do it, have fun with it. It's your career mode. It doesn't matter. You can set your own objectives from that, and that's how you're going to get it. Obviously, for an example, like I could go ahead and pick Mercedes and build them up to be the top team. In terms of career mode for 2020, I would have actually picked Red Bull. Obviously, I'll be focusing on my team, but if I ever do a career mode, I'll be doing it with Red Bull. I want to bring Red Bull up to the top again and fight against Mercedes. That would be my personal goal. And obviously, if my team was never actually a thing and it was just extra developments on career mode, I would have done a Red Bull career mode. But hey-ho, let's have a look then. So, can you tell us more about the new circuits? What unique challenges are we going to pose to the players? So this is going to talk about Zandvoort and also Hanoi. So let's have a look then. Obviously, both Zandvoort and Hanoi will be in F1 2020. In fact, every single race is going to be in F1 2020. I know we've got races that are cancelled, such as Monaco and Australia. However, Codemasters have already confirmed that every single Grand Prix circuit that was set to be on the calendar this year is in the game. So there's nothing going to be taken out because it's taken out in real life. As you probably already know, we love new circuits, and this year we couldn't have had two that are visually and physically different. Zandvoort is a traditional style racing venue which was last on the calendar back in 1985. It's located amongst the sand dunes where the coastline meets the North Sea. The track has seen a great deal of work done in preparation for the 2020 Formula 1 season, not least in having a unique banked curve added to the final corner. It's a technical, exciting circuit with height variation, blind crests, and unsighted braking points and corner apexes. It's an onslaught on the senses and doesn't give a player a break. Yeah, I'm down for that. I'd be cool with that. So that's what they've explained about Zandvoort. Moving on to Hanoi. So Hanoi, on the other hand, is a modern street circuit. The circuit brings the number of anti-clockwise circuits on the calendar up to 6. It's characterized by two enormous straights, with one being the longest in Formula 1. Long straights and high speeds also bring them challenging braking zones and exciting overtaking possibilities. The circuit also features a series of corners where the radius increases as you progress through them, similar to Beckett's complex at Silverstone, the S's at the Autodrome Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico, and turn 6 and turn 9 at the Circuit of the Americas. Being a street track, it's also a walled circuit, which means taking liberties will bring added risk of damage to the car. Speeds are expected to be some of the highest on the calendar. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'll do that. Most likely I'll drive backwards and I'll make sure that I can explore the circuit. So, I've already warned you, Codemasters, if I cannot flip my car, break through the barriers in photo mode, I'm going to find you and eliminate all of your staff members. And if that is the case, I want the next announcement to be official hide and seek game mode in multiplayer. Specifically for me, I want it to be tagged. Here's the next piece of our F1 2020 game mode stuff. At Foxy98, this one is for you, babes. And then I want to see that. So the next thing that we've got then is the two-player split screen. It's finally returning after it was originally, I believe, in the previous generation of consoles. So F1 2014 or 13, 14, I think it was, yeah. Or 15, I think it was 14. Anyway, so what was the thinking behind this, and have any tweaks been made since its last appearance? So let's have a look at split screen then. So split screen last featured in the series back on the previous generation of consoles. So bringing it back to is required entirely new tech. We've always said that this is delivering a split screen experience in gamers as demanding as F1 isn't easy, but we felt now was the time to push for its inclusion. So obviously split screen in the older generations of console was much easier to do. Just doing that into the new consoles actually does mean, as it says there, you need entirely new tech to do it. It's not just a case of, oh sweet, let's go make split screen mode now. You have to basically start it from scratch. It's not just copy and paste. Formula 1 appeals to all ages and levels of gamer and all their love for the sport. Split screen allows people to have a shared experience, something fun and social. We cater to the competitive end of the scale with our online and esports events, but we also want people to be able to enjoy some side-by-side fun by playing the sport they love. We've also wanted to time its inclusion along with some of the new accessibility options we've added to the game this year, such as the steering assist, automatic reset to track, and simplified modified off-track surfaces. Combining those with split screen allows players of all skill levels to race and have some fun. If that was me and I was playing split screen with one of my friends, I would most likely wipe them out because it's very easy to do, especially when you're me, and make them have a miserable time, because I'm horrible. And can you tell us more about the Deluxe Schumacher Edition then? So, as anyone who's followed our F1 journey will know, our franchise director Paul Jules is a massive Michael Schumacher fan. So this is a dream come true. Or this is a dream for him, anyway. It is also a way of honouring one of the greatest talents the sport has ever seen. Of course, last year, we saw that they honoured Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost and their rivalry. This year, we're looking at Michael Schumacher. Michael also drove some of the sport's most attractive and iconic cars on his way to taking 7 Drivers' World titles. With the increase in the way in which the player can personalise their experience in F1 2020, adding in content which relates to a true great was something which we thought was very fitting on the 70th anniversary of the Formula 1 World Championship. And again, obviously, it talks about the classic cars then. So some of the cars Michael drove were truly iconic. And in this case, the Jordan 191, also beautiful. Well, I mean, it was beautiful. Looking at the subjective, but the Jordan 191 regularly tops the tables as one of the best looking cars of all time. You got that right. Back in 91, the Jordan featured a V8 engine and the 6-speed manual gearbox, very different to the modern cars. Moving on from the Jordan, Michael took his first 2 World Championships for the Benetton team. The 1994 Benetton dominated the start of the 94 season, but the Williams of Damon Hill put up a real fight in the second half of the season, but it ended up with Michael Schumacher coming out on top by just 1 point. Of course, we all know what happened in that season. The following year, the Benetton B195 was an even stronger package in the hands of Michael Schumacher and Johnny Herbert, with Schumacher taking his second title and the car achieving 11 victories on its way to taking the Constructors' title. Obviously, the Benetton in 1995 was very, very dominant, as we all saw. The Ferrari F2000 saw the start of Michael Schumacher's dominance over the unprecedented 5-year run of championships. The car featured a screaming V10 engine and a 7-speed sequential gearbox. The F2000 went on to win 10 of the 17 races in the 2000 season, taking both drivers' and constructors' titles. And that is all that they actually say about this, and the rest is just, well, the Red Bull website there. So, very much a lot of interesting things to take out from this, especially coming over towards my team and what we expect from it. There's a lot of critical information in there. If you want to go ahead and read this blog yourself, I'll link it in the description down below, so you can go ahead and read it yourselves. But that's some very interesting stuff there. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. And I'll see you guys for my next video, actually later today, because I didn't plan on making this video, but obviously this came out, so I had to cover it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care all. Peace.